Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Black Womening in Corporate America. I'm your host, Nicole S. Palmer. Thank you for being here. This one is probably going to be one of my shorter pieces because it's been a little hectic, but honestly, it's more of a reflective piece, if you will, where I've just been thinking and taking a step back, looking at and surveying all of the happenings and goings on. And I just wanted to leave you all with a few thoughts. This is actually an extension of a piece I wrote earlier this week. And I wanted to share this with you all on the off chance that someone else may need to hear this as well. So, this space, whether you call it diversity, equity, inclusion, whether you call it a black space, whatever it is you call it, it is not for the faint of heart. And I say that having gone through a pretty spectacular roller coaster of emotions and experiences and what have you. And I can honestly say this is definitely not for the faint of heart. And not only do you have to have thick skin, you have to be able to let things roll off pretty quickly. And I'll give you an example. I really have started leaning into this book writing and really wanting to be intentional with connecting with individuals. And so I've been putting myself out there more, which is very much out of my comfort zone. And it's probably in a lot of ways why I reverted to being off camera, because it's a level of comfort for me. Although, fun fact, I did used to be a radio DJ, but we'll talk about that another time. Yes, I was a bona fide DJ for a local radio station for a minute, actually for a good while. And I was good at it. And in fact, when I left, they were trying to convince me to stay. And even after I left, they were trying to get me to come back. So yeah, your girl was a bona fide radio DJ. But that's a story for another time. We'll talk about that later. But in all seriousness, I've really been trying to be more intentional with making connections with others, especially in this field, because what's interesting, and I think those of us who work in this space, you'll appreciate this, is that most of us have decades of experience, but we're just not known necessarily, right? So as a black woman, especially a black woman who is very intentional in speaking truth to power, which can be risky at times, but as a black woman who's very intentional about speaking truth to power, it's obviously not always popular, but the other thing that I notice is that this space is a very small space, meaning that the circles are pretty overlapping. If I were to mention some names, you would know right away who I'm talking about if you are in this space, because there are not a lot of big names at the top. And I don't even know if that's the right phrasing that I'm using, but you understand what I mean. When you have a space that is, I don't even know if niche is the right word, but it's a space where there aren't that many well-known personalities in the echelon, if you will. So it's very likely that if I were to name a couple of individuals on LinkedIn, you are probably following them too. Because when it comes to advocating and speaking out on issues that impact Black women, again, the circles are pretty small. And so this year, as part of my goal to really step out into my calling fully and do this full time, I've really been putting myself out there more so than I typically would, which is definitely outside of my comfort zone. But I understand that in order to achieve something I've never achieved before, I've got to be willing to do something I've never done before. And that is me doing something I've never done by stepping outside of my comfort zone. And in doing that, I've had people reach out to me, which has been great. And I've reached out to people, which has also been great. I told you all about one particular person that is at the top of my list to be featured on this podcast that I reached out to, and they responded back, which to me honestly was like the biggest win. And even if we don't move forward to collaborating together, I'm proud of myself for putting myself out there and actually reaching out, whether or not it panned out. So there's an event that's coming up in my area that is for specifically Black women, and I was subscribed to the emails for this particular event. And so when I saw it come up, because of the relevancy, I put myself out there again. I reached out to this person and they responded right away. They were really excited about partnering together. I made a complimentary offer to offer my book to the attendees, and everything was heading in the right track. And I had one follow-up, and then I was just waiting to hear back, and the next thing I heard was the event was announced, and obviously I was not part of it. And I'm not saying this to shame anyone, because if I was being that pressed, I would say who it was, but this is not what it's about. If you listen to my other podcast, you know that we're not about naming and shaming. And everyone is different when it comes to this. The reason why I don't believe in naming and shaming is because I don't know all the particulars. I don't know the reason why the person never followed up. I don't know why it fell through. All I know is that essentially I got ghosted. But that's not the message, right? I'm sharing this for a reason. I do believe things happen in your life for a reason, and it's not always just for you to sit in it and let it just impact you. Sometimes, and hell, if I'm being honest, a lot of times when things happen to you that in your mind make no sense, it's for you to share that experience with others, because someone else is going through the exact same thing. So here I was, really excited. I'd already told my publicist I booked my first speaking engagement as an author. And when I tell y'all, I was over the moon, 100% over the moon about this, because I put myself out there. Part of my whole 2025 plan, put myself out there, win, lose, or draw, whatever you want to call it. And so I was hyped. I was 100% hyped. And so to go from that to essentially crashing and burning because I never heard back, and then when I did hear back, it was through the announcement that the event was happening, but my name was nowhere in there because nothing was confirmed. It was definitely disappointing. It was definitely a blow that I honestly wasn't ready for, and definitely had me in my feelings, and definitely had me questioning, because I was like, how hard could it have been to just reach out or have a conversation or just ask me some follow-ups or just say, hey, here's what's going on and here's why, blah, 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 blah. You ask yourself all those questions and then you wonder, dang, is it me? And that was the case. And so it was definitely discouraging. And then, of course, there's this lull right now where the book isn't selling the way that I'd hoped. So, of course, to me, that's another hit. That's another strike, of course. When you're an overachiever, you measure things in wins and losses pretty much all the time. And so that had me struggling. And as I mentioned before, I have been really under the weather. I actually had the flu. I've had the flu. This is going on week 3 now, but it is at the tail end. So if you listen to my past podcast, you'll notice it sounds significantly different. And that's because your girl was like in the middle of a fevered state when I did that podcast. But promise you, it was so good. So you guys should go check it out. But then on top of all of that, of course, I was sick. And so I think when you're physically not well, your other dimensions tend to be more vulnerable. At least that has been my experience. And so I definitely felt much more raw and vulnerable while I was sick and while these things kept happening that weren't in the direction I was hoping for, especially given the previous week before I got sick. Things were moving in the right direction. I was hearing back from people. Sales were picking up. Things were picking up steam, and then it just went through it felt like, you know how when you're on the roller coaster and you have that initial climb where you're going up, and then you come crashing down. That's what it felt like. I felt like I was on the tail end of the crash down after that week where it was just things moving. And so then you see all of the crazy that is happening in this country, which is hard for it not to affect you. And I told my publicist, I need to stop logging into LinkedIn first thing when I get up, because it's not helping my psyche. Because I don't really follow news like that. I do periodically, but I'll be honest, I don't follow news like that just because, especially right now, we are in a maddening cycle of what is happening constantly based on executive orders and what have you. And so I've definitely taken a huge pause on the news, but I still see a lot of news on LinkedIn because a lot of people cover news on LinkedIn. So it's not like I'm ever tapped out whether I want to or not. And so you have this onslaught of information that you're getting bombarded with. And despite all of that, you still got to keep going. You still got to write the content because you still have to try to connect and engage with people in the midst of all of this, in the midst of not feeling great, in the midst of still having to work the day job, and all these things. And then the other part of that was I'd connected initially with an individual, and it was a really great person, and I do hope that I get to partner with them in the future. And they actually are going to be participating in the event that I was going, or at least I thought I was going to be speaking at. And we had a really great vibe, really great connection, and just talking to her about some of the things that I'm doing. And they connected me with someone else who they thought I'd be a great fit for. They can actually connected with two individuals. One of them never got back, which again is fine. The other one did. Sounded like we were going to hit it off and things were heading in one direction, and then I didn't hear anything else. And so again, I don't know the circumstances, so I don't know for certain what led to the silence. All I know is what it made me feel like. And that's important to keep in mind, folks. It's so easy when you have a platform that you can try to use it to your ends, as in to put people in their place. That's never gonna be me, because I know what it feels like to struggle with things, and I don't know what any of these people were going through. And also, I don't know if they just don't like to give bad news to people, or just be the people that say, hey, this is not going to work out, and didn't have the heart to tell me. I don't know. We never know, right? Because none of us are psychic. But I really wanted to come on here and share this with you all, because this week has been especially tough when all of those things are piling on and you're still trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're still trying to hold on to hope that things are going to take off, and you're still trying to believe that this is going to do well in the midst of everything. Simultaneously, you're calculating, and maybe this is just me, so I'll speak for myself, because you always hear about these people that make it in 1 minute, and not even a minute, it's usually a while. 5 years ago, they were unemployed or just got fired, or something catastrophic happened. And then here they are all these years later. And you always hear about the struggle before the triumph. And so in that, I also wonder or ask myself, maybe I haven't struggled long enough, and maybe that's why things aren't taking off, because I need to struggle a little bit longer. Which also, of course, is a thing unto itself. What's the rule, right? Is there a rule of thumb that says you have to struggle X amount of months, X amount of years before you can take off. Is that the rule of the universe? I don't know. That's a question I have. So I think and I ask myself, like, maybe I need to struggle a little bit longer before things really take off, because then it'll be that much sweeter. I'll appreciate it more. But honestly, struggling is overrated. I'm just going to put that right out there. Struggling is 100% overrated. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. But I'm also a very impatient person, which I know about myself. So I want things to happen now, and whatever I can do to accelerate things, I'm going to keep pushing to do that. And so all of these things are happening, and I'm still physically not feeling well. And so I really did have a crisis of faith this week where I began to question my purpose and everything that I'm doing, if it even means anything. And I think especially because you put stuff out there and you feel that this is like some of your best work, and you don't get the reception that you're expecting, which can be disconcerting, especially if you're thinking that you're going to get, and don't get me wrong, this is not about going viral, this is about impact. So you're putting things out there, you're thinking it's going to have a specific level of impact, and that's not what you see back. It can make you question or wonder if you're really pursuing your calling. And especially when you invest and bet on yourself, and you essentially put a lot of eggs in one basket, and you start wondering, did I make the right decision? And I still don't know. The ending has not been written to my story yet, especially not for this year. But it is difficult not to wonder or question whether you're going down the right path. I know I am, but this week has been trying and definitely has me questioning. And I'm sharing this because I know that I'm not the only one who goes through these ups and downs, especially as an entrepreneur, especially as a Black woman. We grind so hard all of the time. And there's definitely been a huge movement to let's have a soft life. Let's get away from hustle culture. If y'all know a shortcut that gets us out of hustle culture, let a girl know, because I have yet to see one. I don't believe that exists. But y'all let me know if I'm wrong. One that doesn't require you to basically be pushing the way that I'm pushing, right? And because let a girl know, because I don't know any other way to get to the destination except grinding and hustling. Because at the end of the day, you got to show up for yourself. So I love the idea of not falling into the trap of hustle culture in theory. Love it in theory. But in actuality, that's really the only way to get it done. All right, y'all, really quick, as promised, as I mentioned last week, every single week I'm going to feature a Black-owned business or a Black individual that is doing the thing, and I want to highlight and spotlight them. So today's episode goes out to Talea Dendy. She is the cancer doula. She has a phenomenal podcast. It's called Navigating Cancer Together. And I met her through the Black Podcasters Association. Shout out to BPA. I'm also a member there. And I just wanted to give her a quick shout out because we connected there and we're just getting to know each other. But I will say that she's the real deal. I love her spirit. We both shared our information on the Black Podcasters Association, and it was a thread where we could connect with each other. Here's my details, and here, and if you want to connect, let's connect. And we both connected with each other. So I've been really getting into her work, and this has a very special place in my heart because I've lost loved ones to cancer, and so I'm a big believer in this space, and she has a podcast all about that. and it's super dope. You guys should definitely check it out. She has the podcast is available wherever podcasts are. It's called Navigating Cancer Together. She also has a website. It's called On the Other Side .life. So all together, On the Other Side .life. Check her out. Check out her content. She's also on LinkedIn and I believe on Instagram. So definitely check it out. If you have a loved one or if you've experienced cancer in your life, this is the podcast for you. So, really quick shout out. Please support her. Please share her podcast. Please share it with someone you might know that could really be encouraged by it. So, just wanted to come on really quick and share that. I have put the links in the description so you can check her out, and you should see, hopefully, hovering somewhere in where I'm talking, a card that will take you to her YouTube page. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Please support her. Thank you. Bye. And so I average 18-hour days easily on average because I got the day job. And after the day job, what do I have? The business. So full-time jobs, not just one, full-time jobs. And yeah, I know I'm going to date myself on this, but that's okay. I own my 45 and fabulous. I own it. But back in the day, there was this commercial called Hair Club for Men. It was all about for men who were balding to get hair back. And I don't know the whole procedure, but it was basically Hair Club for Men. And the guy doing the commercial at the end says, I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. And that verbiage has taken off for sure. And so I understand that in a lot of ways. So I look at everything that I'm doing. I'm the president, I'm the client, the cook, and like I bring home the bacon and I fry it type of thing. Like when you think about all of the things that you do as a Black woman, as an entrepreneur, as a Black person, or just as an entrepreneur, like you have to wear so many hats on any given day, on any given week. And so it's really hard to just sit here and say, oh, let's get away from hustle culture, because if you ain't hustling the 4-hour work week that people talk about, or you only have to work for however many days or in a week, where they do that at and be successful? When you arrive, sure, but until you arrive, hustling is just the way you're going to get there. I'm happy to be wrong. Y'all tell me in the comments or let me know, let a girl know what the shortcut is, what the cheat code is, because I ain't found it yet. So let a sister know. All right, help a sister out. So I say all this to say that it can be very discouraging and very demotivating to feel like you are pouring your heart out. You're putting pieces of yourself out there, because if writing is your gift, that's essentially what you're doing. You're putting parts of yourself out there. You're exposing parts of yourself to the world and hoping that the world will accept it in a way that allows you not only to be seen, but to actually make a living. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're striving for. We're striving to have our passion be the thing that helps us make a living. And when you're doing that, and sometimes exposing very intimate parts of yourself, as I'm doing right now, it can feel like you're talking into the void. And I was talking to my husband about this, and I have been doing a lot of crying this week. I'll be 100% honest, because I felt very raw, very vulnerable with everything that was happening, and also with everything that wasn't happening, let's be clear, because there's two sides of it. There's everything that's happening, and then there's the deafening silence where you do feel sometimes that you're talking into the void, where you're not resonating, even though you know that when you're on to something that's going to change lives, you know that, but you still have to keep pushing. And so it's so easy to feel like it's in vain. And so I've had to tap into a lot of things this week. And I don't know that I'm all the way there yet, but I'm still pushing. I'm still going to keep going. And even just talking to my husband and just really just talking through the agony that you sometimes feel as a creative. And we were talking about the whole concept of the starving artist, how the pains and lengths that we will go through for our art, because we know that is what not only what makes an impact, but what gives us meaning. And so to sit here and feel like, okay, I put this baby out into the world, and you hear all the statistics, how many people actually succeed when it comes to not just the bestseller list, but like actually make it as a bona fide author and blah, 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 all these things. And I'm not trying to hear all that, just not. And not about being in denial, but I cannot focus on what ifs or the statistics, because I don't intend to be a statistic. And so I can't dwell on something I don't intend to be. And so just having those struggles and feeling that pain and the hurt and the frustration and disappointment and all of those emotions, I just wanted to come on here and just encourage somebody else that may be going through the exact same thing. And maybe nobody knows that you are because you're putting out a persona that doesn't align with what's really happening. Because sometimes it really be like that dog in that meme where he's sitting with his mug and there's fire all around him, and the caption just reads, "This is fine." Sometimes it really be that way. A lot of us be like that dog, but just be like stunting and pretending that it is not happening. And look, what y'all are gonna get over here is 100% transparency. There are days that I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna just go be the best 9 to 5 ever, and I'm gonna just leave all this behind because this is for the birds. 100%. It is not all glamorous. We are not over here making it rain. Don't fall for the hype. There's a lot of people doing the absolute most on LinkedIn, on all of the places, and that's just not how I roll. So kudos to you if you about that twerking life while you talking about serious issues. That's just not me. I'm 100% a believer of that saying on Hank Hill, King of the Hill, where he's like, somewhere along the way, we forgot to teach him shame. Ain't nobody forgot to teach me shame whatsoever. I've got shame. I've got pride. I got all of the things. So you will never catch me twerking while I'm talking about DEI rollbacks or whatever the case is. You ain't never gonna catch me trying to do no dance while I'm trying to explain stuff to you. That's not my ministry. If that's your ministry, if your ministry is the twerking advocate, more power to you. That just ain't me. And kudos to you if you have that type of intestinal fortitude. I do not. I'm gonna bring you the real, but it ain't never gonna come with a side of dance. I might crack a little bit of joke here and there because I feel like I'm funny, because I am ever, but we are not over here twerking, y'all. That's just not what we're doing. I'm not gonna be bogling. I'm not gonna be doing the butterfly. I'm dating myself, right? Because who is still doing the butterfly and bogle in this year of our Lord 2025? I don't know, somebody out there doing it. Y'all call it different things now, but at the end of the day, whatever. So yeah, this is who I am. And the more I lean into who I am and the more that I push and keep going, I realize it can be such a slog sometimes because things aren't opening up. And I think especially now with the current climate, people are really out here scared. And I did not get the memo that it was going to be this difficult to sell a book about tapping into your power as a Black woman and pushing against the status quo and surviving in corporate America. Ain't nobody told me that I maybe picked the wrong window to be, putting myself out there with this book. But if there was ever a time that it was needed, I know this is the time that it is needed. I may not have reached my audience yet, but I know y'all are out there. And until y'all find me, I'm going to keep going, because I know that right now this is not the time for me to turn tail and run despite wanting to, despite feeling like I want to just throw my hands up and just be like, you know what, I'm going to just go be a little the best happy-go-lucky 9-to-5er and forget this entrepreneurship business. Despite that, I'm still going to keep going. And I am trusting that at some predetermined date in the near future, this is all going to pay off. And that's what I'm here to tell you. Trust that at some predetermined date in the near future, as long as you keep going, this will all pay off. I'm rooting for us both. I'm rooting for you as much as I'm rooting for myself, because we all gotta win. But that requires us to keep going. And so that's what today is all about. I want you to keep going. I want you to cry if you need to, be in your feelings if you need to. But at the end of the day, keep going, because better is on the other side, but you got to get to it first. And you're not going to get to it if you give up now. That's all I got today. All right? Be easy. Be kind to yourself. As my husband told me yesterday, give yourself some grace. I don't do that enough. I'm more ready to give grace to other people, but I need to give grace to myself. So I am giving myself permission to be kind to myself and to give myself grace, and I want you to do the same. It's okay to be an overachiever, but it's equally important and okay for you to be kind to yourself. You have to. You are the only you have. So don't beat yourself up. Don't internalize the choices that others make and leave you disappointed. Just keep going. For every person that ghosts you and doesn't support you, 7 more will come, I promise. That's all I got. So I hope you have a great week ahead. I hope you stay encouraged and keep going. Keep going, even when you don't want to, even when it feels pointless. Deep down, this is what you were meant to do. So don't give up on yourself. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead. And come back next week, same time, same station. And let's see what we'll get into next. All right, take care. Until next time.